hyped up. I need to get hyped up for this shit. All right, ready, set, action. Welcome back. It's like I never left. So I'm going right along with chapter 2 from my book called I Am Phoenix. This is one of my Christian books. It's actually one of my foundational Christian books. Yeah, I feel like there was a point quite recently where the general population and the herd like mentality, I guess, right, was possibly not going into a good direction. And some of that was simply because we were following the guys that we liked, and the guys that we liked apparently were paid off to mislead us, and they happened to, you know, the Epstein stuff, the Diddy stuff, the vaccine stuff, the COVID stuff, right? So at some point we have reached a form of rock bottom as a people. And so in 2024, I was going through my divorce, but so was possibly another million of dudes, right? And it was quite a heavy time because it was also distracting. Not much production was happening. Economically, a lot of stuff was at a standstill. A lot of delays were happening, a lot of protests and stuff. And the guys were just kind of directionless because a million marriages failed, right? And we blamed it on a lot of things. But at the core, the condition was a man condition. And so I also went through my form of rock bottoms and divorce and losing it all. And although some of it was by choice, some of it was by consequence, and some of it was outside of my hands, I chose to reflect on it, right? With an intent to understand this depth of sorrow, of hurt. Trying to understand it all, right? So chapter 1, we talked about establishing a foundation, and the rock bottom, a cold hard truth, the raw exposure of it all is a pretty good foundation. And the Bible is very well documented. Should we choose to believe the Christian stuff or not, it does have some really good instructions for how to live a good life. And we call that an abundant life. Because to a good life, there's more than money. And this book addresses the mental and the spiritual health condition. It's not the Bible. I don't claim to be any form of official Christian representative of sorts. I'm just a guy who has a few questions, but he's also able to and allowed to troubleshoot some of these thoughts, right? So chapter 2 is called The Call to Bring Heaven to Earth. Why must our abundant life begin here and now? The answer is quite simple, but profound. As children of the Father, we have a mission to bring heaven to earth. We're not just passive recipients of God's grace, we are active participants in His plan. The Spirit of God lives within us, guiding our lives towards the true best life possible. It's not some distant promise after death, but a living reality meant for today. As Christians with a well of living water in our hearts, we are filled with love, grace, peace, and wisdom from heaven that we, in turn, offer these gifts to our fellow human beings. That's paragraph 1. That's just so full of like some good foundational stuff, right? Some of the stuff sounds simple, but had we tried to live some of these, we are so filled with love, grace, peace, and wisdom from heaven that we in turn offer these gifts to our fellow human beings. and they do identify us by our fruit, our actions, our output, right? So these Christians that have a lot of faith but have nothing to show for it, perhaps don't have the fruit. We must treat each other with love because we are all prone to self-destruction. We must treat each other with love because we are all prone to self-destruction. And I mean, as an evil human, there's a sort of satisfaction that comes from that, right? We technically don't have to even seek revenge because people's choices will destroy them. And we could just sit back and watch. We could have compassion on them and warn them about, like, hey, your choices kind of say that you're veering a little close to the edge and possibly off the edge. Should we continue that path? And some people choose to ignore that. And that's I guess that's one hell of a way to meet another rock bottom, right? There's just some spiritual truths, some laws of physics, laws of thermodynamics, laws of inertia, laws of balance, laws of gravities. Some things are just there for us to figure out how it works and then work with it instead of being in denial about some natural laws. So when it comes to certain spiritual laws, I choose to believe, right? Not everybody has to believe. Some people just ignore this gobbledygook. But with the promise of a good life, there's also a need for further understanding. Because in a way, it's all about words. It's all about the vocabulary. It's all about the understanding of what are we really aiming to accomplish on this life, and what exactly is the perimeters, what exactly is rewarded, what exactly is going to be praised, what can stand the test of time, what is ultimately good, what is ultimately kind of shitty. So we have the options to cast these opinions and to troubleshoot with them, right? Already at 8 minutes, my goodness. Haven't even dived into my second paragraphs. And you can see why these discussions, A, are like 10-20 minute videos, but B, try not to happen too much when I get busy. There's also the social aspect to it. With making content, I don't really know who watches it, but then sometimes I see people out in public and they have watched my stuff and I don't know them, but they're looking at me like I owe them some kind of explanation, and I just don't know. Which part did you see? Which part do you know? Which part do we have a problem with if we do? Because I've said a lot. Most of it's in humor, though. I'm one of those Christians who try not to piss you off a little bit because I also live like a piece of shit. And low-key, I kind of like it. I don't like my sin. I just like that I don't have to be all polished up and Sunday school ready every day in order for the God who chose to make me with all the perfect quirks and as a male with blue eyes, 5'8". I'm pretty short, but I'm not. My ego doesn't tell me I'm short because I'm made in the image of God. What if Jesus Christ was 5'8"? Hey, big pimpin'. Jesus Christ was probably 6'3". That little fucking goatee looking thing. No wonder he was popular. Anyways, look at the example set by Jesus Christ. He loved even those who hated him to the point of death. What a radical and beautiful way to live. To offer love and kindness to strangers, even to those who might wish us harm. This is not weakness. This is the strength of a life lived abundantly, overflowing with service to others. Service is the ultimate expression of love. And Jesus showed us That is the key to living fully. Blah, blah, blah. Little bit of Jesus Christ stuff. Jesus Christ is the only way into God's family. No additional penance, no fees, no behaviors will be required to guarantee our peace with God. Kind of free gift. Free gift. You don't even have to go to church to be saved. You just, Jesus Christ, he did some major work here on earth, and people kind of killed him. But he rose again after 3 days. And so, should we choose to believe such nonsense, that is a free gift. So, it is through his grace alone that we enter into the Father's household. And with that foundation set, we can now build our lives further. So, having received this free gift of forgiveness by the same dude that made you and told you to be perfect, i.e., like, don't do too much self-harm, you idiot, because a better life is on the other side of that. Here's the good news that both you and I need to hear right now. We get to enjoy the life. We get to enjoy the victory even over death. The Bible promises all things work out. All things work out for those who love Christ Jesus. Christ didn't just come to bring survival. He came to bring an abundant life. He conquered death, and in doing so, he crushed any fear we might have of uncertainty or loss in this life. Our victory is guaranteed because Christ's victory is complete. But there's more. While on earth, Jesus was first a craftsman, a carpenter. Before he began his public ministry, he worked with his hands, building and creating. Hey, I kind of resonated with that. So that's one of my core values that I kind of take away from Jesus Christ, that he was also, I'm sure he was a craftsman, but he probably worked with giving his best effort as if he was working onto God, onto his dad, for his dad's business, right? So he was probably working for his dad's business with a drive to kind of give his first fruit of his energy to God. I'm pretty sure their business was thriving. I'm pretty sure he was a good craftsman. I like that. I was like, let me pursue my craftsmanship to a degree of not only excellence, but generosity. Just like make my skill be abundant in a way, right? I don't know how to explain it, but if we've worked together and you fired me, you probably noticed the difference. Most of the times they need like two people to replace me. And I don't know if that's a brag or a curse, because I'm definitely a little overqualified for a couple jobs. So my job search is kind of getting limited and limited. So it's about the daily work, humility, and leadership through love. We are like sheep, often uncertain of where we are going, following the crowd without really understanding why. But Jesus is our shepherd, the one who leads us, heals us, feeds us, and protects us. He loves us enough to make sure not one of us is lost. All right, one more minute. This is the gospel, the good news. Jesus, the humble carpenter, showed us how to live an abundant life by serving others. And while most of us won't be called to die for someone else, we are called to live for others. Just like soldiers and leaders who sacrifice their lives in service, we too can offer ourselves in service through though our sacrifices may look different. If we were to live a good life, I think a huge part of that is, how do we feel about the contributions that we are making? Are we proud of our efforts? Are we proud of our wins for the week? Are we stringing together months of good business, good weeks, good relationships, right? Because then that becomes a good year lived, and then it reduces the stress marks, and it keeps a wider smile going, and your kids seem to like you more, and your wife seems to be a little bit more happier, right? So in a way, yeah, there's some underlying currents that we people need, and sometimes words is how we nourish ourselves, which is how I not only do these little book readings to what looks like a very unimpressive audience, but even if I'm talking to like 10-15 people, those 10-15 people might be talking to other 10-15 people, and in 10-15 years our world could be a different place. So, or it could be the same place. Either, actually no, it will never be the same, because we're either gonna go this way or that way. We either gonna fix some issues, or we are gonna get worse with some issues and self-destruct. Ultimately, people left unattended and left on the coast, even without maintenance, tend to go towards self-destruction, and that's what we're trying to prevent. Anyways, chapter 2, I Am Phoenix. That seemed to be a little bit more of a discussion, plus a lot of Jesus Christ stuff, which I kind of like. I think that's where the optimism lays. Next time you go through a really, really dark time, or you have a really dark weight on yourself, just even say name. Just the name Jesus Christ should have enough power to give you comfort, or to even repel some of the stuff that's kind of scaring you, right? For me, it always worked. So, and I feel like I've been in quite a few dark situations, and I'm just like, you know. So there's something powerful to faith, to speaking, to making ripples with the sound that you make, with the frequency and the resonance and the belief that you carry. So this is quite a long video. Thank you for hanging out. I still got 4 more videos coming. Don't go anywhere.